So we're talking about how to heal the wounds of the country, I guess, and how to keep it together. And Glenn, you brought up a deal. Can you go through this deal one more time? I'm not sure how I feel about it.
This is a mental exercise. That's all this is. This could not happen, and I honestly don't know if I would be for the deal. I'm just proposing. If we have civil war, right now we disagree on so much, at least in politics, but I do believe that the American people still have more in common than we have apart. There are politicians and very well-moneyed entities that are doing everything they can to tear us apart. But if I could wave a magic wand and I could say, all right, let's compromise. I know you have problems with speech. I know you have problems with the Second Amendment. I know you have problems with all these things. You just give us that, and we'll give you abortion with a caveat. You no taxpayer dollars are going for it, and you can't build another abortion clinic. So whatever you got going on, you have. Now, this would begin in 10 years, let's say. And I'm basing this off the model of compromise with the founders in slavery. Slavery to our founders was absolutely immoral. But they had two states that just would not go along with it. So what are you going to do? So they made a compromise. We'll put a cap on it. You can't import any more slaves in 10 years. And that was, we're going to cap it. No more importation. We're going to do our best to stop it in hopes that they would change people's hearts against slavery and avoid a civil war. So I'm asking you, the most immoral thing that I think we do is abortion. So that would be the biggest compromise for me, and I'm not sure I would make it. But if it meant no civil war, and we would come back to e pluribus unum on the Bill of Rights, but we had to sacrifice, and abortion could happen in all 50 states, but there was a cap to it, would you do it?
In all 50 states now? Or are you saying just where it kind of is?
Yeah, you'd have to compromise, and it'd be all 50 states. You get the Bill of Rights, but all 50 states have abortion, but they cannot expand it. I know it's horrible. It's like saying to people who are abolitionists, we're just going to cap it, and we're going to try to stop the slave trade, and let's all work to change people's hearts.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Or civil war.
Because conceptually what you're saying here is the country essentially itself worth tolerating some amount of what you see as evil? And obviously we do have lots of things in our country that are disagreeable, but something like this, which is, I think, fundamentally
is evil.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how it will be looked back on eventually, that you would wipe out 65 million people over 50 years.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty bad. So is it worth tolerating that? I mean, I guess at some level we've all been doing that, right? We're not arguing for a civil war, and we have abortion in many, many states, all the states up until a few weeks ago. So in some level, we have agreed to some version of this without getting the benefits of people actually respecting the Bill of Rights. So I do think the country fundamentally, if you look at the overall good we've done as a nation, it is worth tolerating a lot. I mean, we've done it. We've been doing it for a long time.
Isn't that what we hear from every senator and congressman that has ever gone bad? Their point of no return is, yes, I have to compromise on this evil thing, but if I don't stay in, or if I do compromise on this, I can be ahead of a committee, and then it's just over for them. Isn't this the fruit, the poison fruit, that our founders tried the first time? What would be said about us in 150 years, assuming abortion is looked at as mass murder like we think it is? What would be said about us Really? How did they even think they believed all men are created equal? Life, liberty, and the pursuit. How could they believe any of that? Such hypocrites. They compromised on abortion.
I mean, they
didn't actually believe it.
It's a fair criticism. Of course, I think, one of the things that helps you get through it is thinking of yourself as an individual rather as a cog in a wheel. Yes, we're a country, but we do have our own free agency here to be able to kind of walk around and say, hey, well, I'm fighting against that. I'm doing what I can to try to stop it. Yes, I live in a country that allows it, but I'm still doing what I can.
Oh, my gosh, you sound like that racist Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, no. I
mean, that's what our founders believed. Mm-hmm. This is not a question of abortion. It's not a question. It is posed because I do believe we're headed towards a civil war if we can't stop this. Because there is no compromise when you say the First Amendment's out, the Second Amendment's out, abortion for all, and if you don't like it, we're going to change the Supreme Court. I don't know how you avoid a civil war. So this popped into my mind, but this is really to show all you self-righteous people that believe, oh, I would have gone back in time and I would have done. Would you? Would you?
Well, I mean, we look back
at the country is facing the same perilous times. And what are you willing to do to save what we have?
This is why there's such problems with something like collective salvation, right? What do we look when we look back at the founders and we'd say, how could they have been, and the people who were alive at the founding, how could they be part of a country that did this terrible, terrible thing? And it was a terrible, terrible thing. But we don't look back at Ben Franklin that way, right? We don't look back at Ben Franklin. Now, some on the left do because they're insane. But here's a guy who was an abolitionist, right? He fought against this. He fought against this practice. He blew up his economic life to fight against it. He did everything that he believed he could to try to stop this terrible practice. And that's how you can deal with it as an individual. You're not going to be able to control every law of your country. All you can do is take responsibility for your own actions. And the left wants to present a world in which that's not the case, right? It doesn't matter if you specifically are racist or not. Are you part of a structure of structural racism that you're supporting by being part of this nation that's allowing X, Y, and Z? No, actually, not being racist is a really big part of it. Like, don't be personally racist. And if a lot of people can hit that standard, the world changes pretty quickly.
Well, look at what people are saying now. They want to give, what was it, 53% of Democrats in this latest poll we just revealed. They want to give the United Nations an overriding power on our Supreme Court and on our Congress. So are you with the blue-helmeted rapists? So wait a minute. You want to give the power to the group of people that, A, haven't solved a single world problem and are deeply corrupt and are raping people in countries where they're supposed to be protecting them. Wow, it sounds like to me you're trading one evil for another evil.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the standard that you kind of put out in this deal where abortion would exist but would not be expanded as it was back in the founding days, in some ways is sort of what we have now, right? Some territories are going to have abortion. This sort of new world we live in over the past few weeks, some are going to have it, some aren't. It's going to be difficult to expand that right in a lot of states, might go away in some others. But generally speaking, you're going to see this split, I think, for some time going forward. I don't want a civil war over it, but it's important to note that people look at this and they say, oh, Roe versus Wade, this is a win. And it's definitely a step in the right direction, but it is not a win per se. A win, like this situation where half the country has abortion, and some all the way on demand up until the last month, is not the conservative position. The conservative position is not everybody gets to do what they want when it comes to killing babies. Like that's not a position I'm comfortable with at all. Like I'm a big believer in federalism, but I believe the country also does have a responsibility to protect life, not just in some areas, not just in red states, not just in red counties. It has the responsibility to try to protect it everywhere. It's sort of one of the promises of the founding documents. As you mentioned, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness all require life. All three require people being alive. Yeah. So I think it is pretty crucial.
I just sold my house to a dead man.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
He doesn't have life, but he now has property.
There you go.
And a right to pursue his own happiness. So anyway.